And moving on from that, we will also be discussing the benefits of an apprenticeship and the benefits that they bring if you join these schemes. We'll also talk about and tackle the myths that are surrounding apprenticeships that are commonly kind of associated with people, especially young people. And finally, we will be talking about apprenticeships versus university and what the difference is between the two. Before I carry on further, I'd also like to put out a disclaimer that we'll be recording this call so that we can share this later on, inshallah. So just to put that out there. Let's proceed, inshallah. Now, starting off with myself, my name is Umair Tanvir. Before joining BT, I obviously attended sixth form. I attended the NCS in East London, which is a sixth form, and studied Arabic, economics, and politics at A level. And as you can tell, none of those subjects are STEM subjects. Previous jobs, I actually didn't have any jobs prior to joining BT, so this is my first official job, alhamdulillah. Now, why did I choose BT and not any other company? Essentially, BT was really attractive to me because of the flexibility that they offer. BT is a huge advocate of flexible working and they provide a huge emphasis on learning and development, which for me is very crucial because in my software engineering role, I think it's very important that you hone those skills for you to succeed and reach a high level in software engineering roles typically. My experience in BT so far has been really, really fantastic. Alhamdulillah, I've honed many skills, such as and not limited to stakeholder management, change management, which essentially is dealing with a lot of senior kind of people in the business, which can be at times daunting for an apprentice joining the company at a young age. I've also learned quite a few programming skills as a part of my software engineering role. Obviously, programming languages like Python, C++, and JavaScript. In terms of my current placement and where I am currently working in my apprenticeship, I'm working for application support in IT OpenReach. Essentially, my team kind of supports the robots and the systems that support our IT OpenReach engineers. So, for example, if you have bad internet at home or your broadband is down and you call up the engineers at BT or Virgin Media, these systems that my team works with will essentially look and detect for where the fault is across the line from the exchange to your house. And so we maintain those systems. In terms of highlights of my apprenticeship scheme, then I'd like to kind of split those into three subsections. Operationally, alhamdulillah, I've managed to achieve quite a few things. The first being obviously helping create an automated service adoption dashboard, which was intended for consumption by senior managers and directors. Now, in BT IT, we essentially have a whole host of systems and services for our internal IT colleagues. And the managers essentially want to have a kind of really nicely laid out dashboard to view how the performances of these services are. And I played a huge role in creating that dashboard and automating it as well. I also, in my current rotation, automated a password changing application for 25 of our OpenReach customer databases, and we used VBA or Visual Basic Application programming language for that. And also, I've also helped revamp our current team SharePoint site, so a bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript there as well. In terms of the apprenticeship front and my volunteering, then I like to say that I've been involved in quite a lot of things on that front. I am the Technology Apprenticeship Attraction Ambassador, which essentially means really events like this, talking about apprenticeships, what apprenticeships are, really inspiring young people from all backgrounds to apply for apprenticeships and kind of portray the message that this is a viable career pathway for everyone. I've also thankfully been part of the BT Muslim Network, which this event is organized by, being a senior representative and also the comms lead, dealing with all our communications internally and externally. Finally, I've also been part of the Technology Culture Club, which essentially is a club where we have regular meetings with managing directors and heads to essentially tackle the lack of diversity and inclusion in technology or in our technology sector to really increase diversity and inclusion. A few other highlights which were quite interesting and fun for me when I first joined was essentially visiting our BT Sports studios. So Many of you, I'm sure, watch football. The Champions League and Europa League is exclusively shown on BT Sport. And the studio that you see on television is in Stratford. And visiting that studio was really, really kind of mind-blowing and really nice to see the studio that you see on TV. So that was a nice touch. Also visiting the top of BT Tower. Now, obviously, BT Tower is not open for the public. Only BT employees can access BT Tower. So it was really nice to kind of have an overview of London and see London from a really high place. So that's a little bit about me. I'm now going to hand it over to Zain for him to give a background and an overview of himself and his experience so far. So on to Zain.
Yeah, thank you, Omer. So assalamu alaikum and hello to all. So my name is Zain Nazar, and off the back of what Omer, his format was like. So before BT, I actually attended a sixth form called Heston Community School, and I was there from year 7 all the way to year 13. And alhamdulillah, I managed 9 GCSEs and 3 A levels, which was economics, psychology, and business. So as you can see, again, they're not really any STEM subjects, and they don't really necessarily correlate to what I am studying to right now. So alhamdulillah, everything went well. My previous job, I actually worked in an Asda warehouse, which is a couple minutes down my road, as a manual handler on the loading team. So literally, whilst the baskets would be coming down to me on a conveyor belt, I'd literally just be stacking them and loading them into a truck. That's what my job was for a couple months. And I also managed to complete a work placement with Allianz Insurance as a business administrator in the customer sales department. So why did I actually decide to join BT? So me personally, I was always a person that was fixated on apprenticeships because I'm a more hands-on and a practical person. So when it came to my time in school, I actually didn't really enjoy doing any tests or homework or assignments. I just really wanted to get into the nitty-gritty, really. So I've always been that practical person, and I felt that BT's environment was the best for me. So the BT apprenticeship scheme itself, it really intrigued me because the platform it provides actually gives a huge scope for development to tap into. So if we put into perspective my degree, it comprises of both networks and software. It's called the Digital and Technology Solutions degree. So that in itself opens many and multiple avenues for future careers. And the fact that I'm actually able to get experience on the job whilst actually being able to achieve a degree which is completely paid for by the business actually sets me up to get an edge over other candidates who may apply for future roles just the same as me. And that is something that is one of the most extremely valuable things to me. So onto my experience so far, it's been absolutely amazing, and I've been enjoying everything to do with the apprenticeship so far. And looking at some of my operational highlights, I was able to help one of our sectors in BT called Enterprise to critically unblock a £40 million network that we are working on right now by actually analysing 1,000 plus contracts from our customers. And there was actually 750 of those. And some of those actually include some of the big names you may be familiar with. So for example, BBC, Sky, ITV, etc. I also managed to help our media and broadcast security team detect 30,000 vulnerabilities to its platform. Many of you may be thinking, wow, that's actually a huge amount of vulnerabilities within BT, but it's something we always aim to continuously lower. And I was also able to create an automated system to generate reports for all of our relevant BT tools and applications that we use. Some of my apprentice highlights include actually winning the Bright Sparks Award for engineering for showing exceptional talent in the field of engineering. And alhamdulillah, this was something that I was able to win only 3 months into my apprenticeship. So something that I'm really proud about. And some of my operational highlights was the key things that contributed towards winning that award in the first place. And like Omer said, I'm also a BT Muslim Network senior representative. So this whole event is sponsored by the network, and really proud to be a part of them. And I have my own function called the recruitment and engagement lead. So essentially I handle all of the internal recruitment into the BT Muslim Network, and also the engagement opportunities within the diversity and inclusion space. And looking at some of my university highlights, I was actually able to build Ethernet cables as one of our practicals for our networking fundamentals module, which was really cool because I've never really done anything like that. and also just being able to experience university from a physical perspective pre-COVID, and also from a virtual environment, which is where we are right now. So alhamdulillah, regardless for that. But yeah, that's myself.
Perfect. Jazakallah khair, Zain. We'll now move on to Muhammad for him to introduce himself.
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And again, thank you for having me on. So just a bit about myself. So yeah, my name is Mohammed Khan. Prior to BT, I mean, I had a number of roles. Honestly, I could never um, find a role that I was comfortable in. So I've jumped quite a few jobs. And then I went through a period of unemployment. It was actually through that unemployment, and subhanAllah, it was a blessing in disguise, because I came across this employment work program, which I was on for 2 weeks. It's a voluntary thing, something that I was able to use to brush up on my skills, how I present myself, how I come across to in a professional environment. And off the back of that, I applied for a number of apprenticeships, and I actually came across BT. Having applied for BT, alhamdulillah, I was successful. And the reason why I picked BT, I'm not going to lie, it was one of a few choices. But the reason I did pursue BT was because, first of all, it's a well-established company. 9 out of 10 people know what BT is. Not everyone's perception of BT is great, but it's a well-known company, and that's what we're here for, to turn around that perception. Another reason I chose BT, and I'll say openly, their apprenticeship salary is really good in comparison to other companies. That's, I think, increased since I've joined. So it's definitely something worth looking into. And also, I knew that I'd have a good opportunity to develop and progress within this company, because of the fact that they're a well-grounded company. They're not going to disappear overnight. And it was a good platform for me to actually join and then work off of. My experience so far, I'd say if you just go back to the previous slide. So my experience so far, I mean, there's been plenty of ups and downs throughout my career. As with everything, you have good days and bad days, and there's constant learning with that, which is the main thing. There's challenging parts to it, such as projects that you work on, or changing expectations of the people around you, given how long you've been in the company. These are things that continuously played on my mind, but I just converted that into a driver to make sure that I'm on my game, and that if I don't understand, or if anyone doesn't understand, just ask the question. 9 out of 10 times, there's 3 other people thinking the same question and they won't ask it. So it's important that you do ask that question. So coming onto my current role, I'm currently a team manager. So I joined BT 4 years ago, and just recently, alhamdulillah, I've been enrolled into the Chartered Management Degree Apprenticeship, which I've just started. So make dua, inshallah, that goes well. If you want to move on to the next slide, Umair. Jazakallah. So some of the highlights from my apprenticeship is, initially when I first joined, within the first few months, one of the brothers on this call, Yasin, he actually helped me on this project. Actually, we actually led on a project that saved the company over 600k in our first year, or around that mark, which was pretty good. It helped put us on the map, and that was through a general manager of mine. Another highlight of mine was to be promoted to team leader during my apprenticeship. That was a massive challenge, because I had to kind of navigate my way through colleagues who I got along with and still get along with, whilst keep maintaining that relationship, but turning it and changing it slightly, in terms of, now I'm in a leading position. I need to ensure that what I'm expected to deliver on isn't diluted by my relationships with people. But alhamdulillah, I managed to balance that well, and I still get along with as many people as I did then, if not more so now. Another few highlights of mine was I managed to win the Southeast Regional Apprentice of the Year award, which is a national, externally recognized award, which really surprised me. But alhamdulillah, I managed to win that award along with the national highly commended Apprentice of the Year award. These are things that I never thought to be honest, I didn't even know about it beforehand. I only found out about it when I was in BT and I was part of the apprenticeship. And alhamdulillah, it just goes to show what you can do with the right support around you, and by putting your head down. Another award I won on top of that was the BAME National Highly Commended Apprentice of the Year award. This came off the back of the previous 2 awards that I won. So alhamdulillah, it's a good experience, and that helped me help put myself on the map and kind of set the platform for me to then get promoted to team manager. Some of my volunteering highlights is, well, currently it's the BT Muslim Network. Shout out to Zain and Umair and the other brothers that helped get me involved in this, because I think it's massive. You know, diversity is a massive thing. The people on this call just go to show, like, you know, we are representatives. We're not here to tick a box. We're here to be heard, and that's the main thing, that, you know, we're just as important as the candidate next to us, and, you know, we have got a chance with everything. One thing that I'm working on at the moment is the reverse mentoring scheme. Now, that's something that BT are doing in terms of bridging the gap between inequality within the company. So it's, in a nutshell, what it is like, I'm a mentor to a director, and I share my experience, my life experience with them, so they can understand the difficulties that we may go through, and that we do go through, actually. So that's the main thing. And finally, the Apprentice of the Year judging panel. It was nice to be on the other side rather than you know, being a candidate. It was nice to be on the judging panel and put across our opinions. And I'll always say this is like, you know, I've not come from the most privileged of backgrounds, but that doesn't make me any less worthy than the person next to me. That's a skill set to have. Like, you know, our view on life is a skill, I would say, especially when you can blend your experience with the good and the bad. It's important to put that across. So yeah, but now I'll pass over back to Umair, inshallah.
Perfect. Excellent. Jazakallah khair, both of you, for your amazing introduction. Now we're going to move on to the actual element of the of the presentation, rather, that we've prepared. So before we actually go into that and go into what an apprenticeship is, we'd like to make this session as engaging as possible. So if I could get all of you guys to log on to menti.com. And I'd like you to answer the first question, which is, what are the first 3 things that come to your head when you hear the word apprenticeship? So if you could menti.com and use this code, put this code in, and put your thoughts down, inshallah, that would be good. I'll just give you guys a few minutes for you to do that, inshallah.
I've also just popped in a link to Menti for anyone that isn't familiar with it, so you can just access it from the chat box.
Let's give it a couple more minutes. Working and studying. That's a very good one. Excellent. Let's get a few more responses. What do you guys think? Amazing.
Avoid riba. That's a very interesting one.
Very good, very good. Practicality, studying, working, salary, money whilst learning, employment, gaining skills, independence, experience. I've lost track now.
You did ask for a few more, and now you've got it.
Labor and hands-on, degree. Excellent. I think we've got a very smart bunch here, because usually when I do these activities with other people or other groups in schools, etc., we get quite a bit of, we say, negative kind of attitudes towards apprenticeships. So it's nice to see these phrases and words.
That's the thing with apprenticeships; they're becoming a lot more well known now, isn't it? Compared to when I was in college. Like, I'm 27 now, but when I was in college, we never heard of apprenticeships. It was just straight do your UCAS application and go to uni. So it's good to hear apprenticeships are, like, you know, viewed a lot more positively, which they should be.
Definitely. Yeah, we've got some fantastic words here. and phrases. I see not broke. The lingo has made it in. Cool. Amazing. Very, very good. Okay, so going back to our presentation, what is an apprenticeship? In a nutshell, an apprenticeship essentially is a real job where you learn, gain experience, and get paid, like some of you guys mentioned on the mentee form. Essentially, you're an employee with a contract of employment like any other employee, and you also have access to holiday leave, etc., just like any other employee. So you're not different. You're not an inferior version of an employee, essentially. By the end of an apprenticeship, you'll have the right skills and knowledge needed for your chosen career. So, for example, myself, by the end of my apprenticeship scheme, I'd like to be a professional software developer, and so would Zain in his networks and Muhammad in his role as well. Now, the length that apprenticeships can take essentially is between 1 to 6 years to complete, essentially depending on which one you choose, what level those apprenticeships are, and your previous experience. Apprenticeships are funded by contributions made by the government and your employer. So there's huge benefits to be gained from apprenticeships. Now, I touched upon levels. Apprenticeships essentially are categorized in different levels, starting from level 2 all the way up to level 6. Level 2 essentially is known as the intermediate apprenticeship, which is equivalent to 5 GCSE passes at A star to C, or as many of you will be more familiar with, 9 to 4s. Going up from that, essentially, you'd have the advanced apprenticeships, which are the level 3 apprenticeships. Level 3 apprenticeships are essentially equivalent to 2 A-level passes or BTECs as well. Going up from there, you have level 4, level 5, level 6, and level 7. These are known as higher apprenticeships, with level 4 being equivalent to a foundation degree first year, level 5 being equivalent to second year of uni, and level 6 being the full bachelor's degree. And then the last stage that you have is a degree apprenticeship. Now, a degree apprenticeship is either a level 6 or a level 7, where you are provided with a full degree, full bachelor's degree, or in the case of a level 7 apprenticeship, you're provided with a master's degree. So these are the essentially levels that you have apprenticeships in, and BT offers all levels. In terms of the length of each, then it varies depending on the company and the role. But typically speaking, intermediate apprenticeships typically last between 1 year and 18 months. Advanced apprenticeships are usually last just over 2 years. And finally, higher and degree apprenticeships take between 3 to 6 years to complete, with level 6, which is a full degree apprenticeship lasting 4 years, and a level 7 master's degree apprenticeship lasting 6 years. Now, I'd like to hand it over to, am I handing it over to Muhammad? Or is it Zain?
It'll be over to me, Umar.
Zain.
Perfect. Just got, my mind went blank there. Perfect. So now I'm going to hand it over to Zain to discuss the programs that we have available here at BT.
Yep. So here at BT, we have a very diverse amount of sectors where we actually offer our apprenticeships. So some of the key areas where the apprenticeships are open is in the business management department, customer service, cybersecurity, digital, engineering services, finance, HR, learning development, sales and marketing, and telecommunications. So some of the key locations where BT actually operates in is within the ones listed in the PowerPoints above. So Belfast, Birmingham, Bristol, Cardiff, Cheltenham, Ipswich, London, Newcastle, Reading, Sheffield, and Truro. So London and Bristol is actually where our key sites actually are held and where our main operations actually take place. But if we focus more back towards the programs, there's a very big misconception that goes on with people when it comes to apprenticeships and what programs they actually need to apply for. So if you look at myself, if you remembered from my introduction, I had studied business, economics, and psychology at A level, and none of them were STEM subjects. And right now I'm currently doing network engineering. So you can see that there's no technical experience that I have prior to this role and this apprenticeship coming into it, and zero skills at all. So what you actually study doesn't necessarily need to correlate as to what program you need to apply for. So if you're one of those people that study maths, physics, etc., you don't necessarily just need to go into finance, for example. You could go into a completely different role. And it's not only myself that's in the same boat, but many other apprentices. So one of the apprentices I actually work with, she studied something along the lines of film studies, history, and English literature. And again, she's doing network engineering. There's absolutely no correlation as to what she studied and what she's currently working towards right now. So that's a very huge misconception. So don't make yourself feel limited as to what program you apply for. You can completely open your avenues up to many different sectors, and you'd be surprised as to what you could actually achieve and actually learn in those departments as well. So these are the main programs where BT are offering their apprenticeships, and if any of them are of interest to you, you can definitely head over to our BT site and get applying. I believe the apprenticeships actually opened as of yesterday as well, so better late than never as well. On next slide, please, Umar. So now we'll actually be highlighting some of the benefits of apprenticeships. But before I actually go into that, I want you guys to quickly go back to Menti and actually type in the code that's in the top. So it's the same one, but this time we'd like you to quickly jot down an answer as to what benefits actually come to your mind when you think about an apprenticeship scheme. So we'll give about 1 or 2 minutes for you guys to quickly go ahead with that. Money. One of the key ones.
Money again.
Experience.
Salary.
Excellent.
Debt free.
Ahead of people from uni. That's an interesting one.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Not broke again. That's
Broke.
right.
Skills.
Salary and a job.
Debt free as well. It's good.
Definitely some very good responses there, and people looking more long term to the benefits of apprenticeships rather than just the short term as well. So nice work, guys. Back to the PowerPoint, Omer, please.
Well, we had another one there, wasn't it? No, it's just a repeat one.
No worries. Yep. So now if we actually go into the benefits of apprenticeships, some of them are, but not limited to, earning whilst you're learning. So apprenticeships are on-the-job training, essentially. That's what an apprenticeship is. And whilst you are actually learning and going to study away at university or college, depending on whatever level of apprenticeship you are on, you are actually being paid for that, and also being the degree also being fully paid for. On top of that, you also have other additional travel related expenses expensed for you from BT. So myself, my university is quite far from me. It's about an hour and a half. So it's not the most convenient commute, but BT actually pay for my hotel to stay overnight and allow me to actually spend £25 per night on food as well. So they definitely do pay for you whilst you learn. Another one which someone actually mentioned in Menti is that you gain no student debt. So a lot of people that go to university, as you know, many people are not in a stable financial position to actually pay the uni fees up front, and so they may need to turn to other alternatives such as loans. And with that, it comes interest, and over time it actually builds up into student debt. So whilst if you do an apprenticeship, especially a degree apprenticeship, as opposed to going to university, you end up with no student debt. And most of the time you actually end up on a greater salary than those of graduates as well at the end of your apprenticeship. So well done, whoever got that one on Menti. Another benefit would be the structured training program. So at BT, there's an absolutely amazing structure in place for apprenticeships. So for myself, what my scheme is like, we actually do 6-month rotations in different teams. So every 6 months, we'll rotate into a new team, completely new projects and a new environment, and also new colleagues as well. So our scheme is 4 years long. So that gives you roughly about 8 rotations. So you get to have an incredible feel about many different areas in BT, and absolutely expanding your experience, knowledge and skills in various sectors of BT. And that could definitely help you once you finish your apprenticeship as well when looking for a full-time role. Another benefit would be the hands-on experience. So like I said, with apprentices, many people don't really feel, they don't really get the true meaning of what an apprentice is. Many people may just think, oh, okay, I might just be there just watching someone just doing their work. I'll just be there shadowing them. But that isn't really the case. You actually get to have that hands-on experience. You get to go to customer sites. You get to install kit. You get to do all of these cool, amazing things like going to training grounds, installing circuits and kits, fiber, etc. So there's a lot of hands-on experience you can get whilst you're at BT and across different teams as well. And there's also so there's also a variety of industries and sectors to choose from. So like I said, whilst you do a lot of rotations, there's various sectors you can go to. So originally, I'm an apprentice in the technology sector of BT. And actually right now, I've actually rotated to enterprise in BT. So I've completely gone to a completely new environment with completely new projects and completely new people. So I've decided to challenge myself and learn more. So I've decided to leave technology and go over to enterprise. And that's what apprenticeships allow you to do. A variety of industries are available and various sectors are available to choose from. And you also get that varied learning experience as one of the additional benefits as well. So you can take it as the situation we are in right now with COVID-19. So we're actually, we've been working from home and working from a virtual environment rather than a physical environment. So you don't necessarily have that feel of being able to just turn around and ask your buddy a question if you're stuck. You actually need to go type and take various other alternatives. So the learning experiences, it makes you who you are at the end of the day, and it gives you a whole new perspective on things. And for me, COVID-19 especially has been a blessing in disguise and has allowed me to develop in absolutely numerous ways. And then lastly, we'll be also stating the salary and benefits of BT. So the starting salary of BT apprenticeships actually range from £16,422 in your first year. And if you are employed in London, which is a main area for BT, you'll actually receive an additional allowance of either £3,380 or £1,670, depending if you work inside London or on the outside of London. And all employees also have access to corporate discounts, free broadband and BT Sport, with discounted BT and EE mobile and discounted BT products and services, as EE is one of our merged partners. So there's a lot of salary and benefits at hand and a lot to explore. So over to yourself, Mohammed.
Sure. Jazakallah. So the next slide is on why BT. Now obviously we've got a few bullet points on here, but a couple of the points that I'm going to focus on is the friendly culture. That's the first one. It's very welcoming, and you know, as a person from a minority background, and as I'm sure the majority of the people on this call, if not all, are, BT is very welcoming, very accommodating. Like on my first day, I recall we were looking for somewhere to pray. My non-Muslim manager automatically, without even him knowing where the prayer room is, he knew just how important it was to me and to my colleague, and he sought out a prayer room within the hour. And alhamdulillah, we were able to do our namaz, and like, you know, it's very welcoming, very open, very like, you know, you don't feel like you're ostracized because of your faith. Now, that may not be everyone's experience, but again, that's part of what we're trying to drive to change. But my experience so far has been that BT has got a very friendly culture in terms of wanting to help you and genuinely wanting to help you. And you know, that's a key thing for me in terms of anywhere that I would work. Another thing is BT were recently, I think recently or quite a while ago, were badged as top 50 employers for women, which is brilliant, especially in this day and age where, like, you know, we want to be seen for the type of company we are, that we're inclusive, that we're diverse, and to win such an award out of all the employers throughout the country, BT are the top 50 employers for women, which is a great feat to have. Also, the fact that we've got access to great benefits. Not going to go into too much detail, as Zain mentioned it and touched on it. You get free BT broadband, you get free BT Sports, which is fantastic. I've got it in my room at the moment. And last but not least, the large apprentice community. Now, I was an apprentice. I've only just been re-enrolled into an apprenticeship, but I'm still in touch with Zain and Umair, who work in completely different areas to what I do. But alhamdulillah, we were still able to get in touch, and that shows how far and how wide this apprentice community is. It's it it puts, like, obviously the more people you have together, the more of a voice you have. That's the fact of it. Not that you don't have a voice alone, you do, but the more people you have, the more like, the better it is. And it shows that this community is one that's, it's not taken lightly in BT. It's Apprentices are seen as like, people for the future, and that definitely does come across when you're going through your journey in BT. Do you want to go to the next slide, Umair?
Yeah.
Jazakallah. So just recently, actually, I think a few weeks ago, BT were named the 4th best apprenticeship employer. And again, that's out of 100 employers, 100 chosen from however many employers there are in this country, and we were only beaten by British Army, HMRC, and the Royal Navy. That's a fantastic feat, and the fact that, even I've gone through my apprenticeship and I've had a very, very positive experience, alhamdulillah. I can vouch for that, and it's nice to see the company being recognised externally for it as well. And to add to that, BT is also known as the best private sector apprenticeship employer, which is, again, it just goes to show just how much how much emphasis BT put on their apprentices. It's not like you just join as an apprentice and, like Zain said, like, you're not just going to shadow someone. It's actually, they want you to go out there and get that experience, regardless of what experience you've had previously. You get that on the job training. So don't let a like cybersecurity, for example, you may not have any, you may not come from a cyber background. Don't let that deter you. Apply for it. See if you can get in, and you'll get the support and the training on the job. So, like, obviously, Qadar Allah, whatever you do end up with, don't think before applying that you're not going to be right for the position. If you've got a genuine interest in it, follow up on it and apply, and obviously make dua, and then inshallah on the job you will get that training anyway if you are successful in applying. So yeah, so I'll pass over back to Umair now, I believe.
Definitely.
Yeah, Jazakallah.
Okay, so next what we're going to do is essentially we're going to play a Mythbuster game. I am wary of the time, so we might skip through some. Essentially, we want you to vote whether the statement that's going to appear on the screen is true or false. So Zain over here is going to add a poll to the chat window in Microsoft Teams for you to vote whether the following statement is true or false. So I'm going to give him a couple minutes. So apprenticeships are for people who don't do well at school. Is that true or is that false?
All of the responses as well to the form is also anonymous, so no need to worry about that. And if you do get it wrong, don't worry. Like I said, it is anonymous.
Yeah, there's no problem in getting it wrong. This is a learning curve, and we are here to kind of break down those misconceptions. We're getting quite a lot of people saying false, and I'm pleased to say that yes, it is false. Apprenticeships are simply an alternative route into skilled employment. A great way to earn while you learn without any student debt, like we've highlighted earlier. And you also gain vital work experience and really set yourself up on a kind of fast track route into a successful career. So no, it's not for only people who don't do well at school. Cool. The next one is apprenticeships are available in many industries. Is this true or is this false? Excellent. Cool. So we've had majority of people say that this is true, and it is true indeed. Apprenticeships are actually available in many industries, and now they are available in over 1,500 occupations across the 170 industries, ranging from nuclear to fashion, law, banking, defense, and technology as well. On to the next one then. Apprenticeships lead to good qualifications. Is this a true or false statement? Had a few falses, a couple falses, a lot of trues. Cool. And this is in fact true. Apprenticeships do lead to good qualifications. As you can see that more and more people are choosing apprenticeships as an alternative to university. Nearly a fifth, which is 19% of advanced apprentices progress onto higher education over time following their apprenticeship. And also in degree apprenticeships as well, you get a bachelor's degree. So for example, myself and Zain, we will be getting a bachelor's degree in digital and technology solutions, which is essentially equivalent to computer science. So yes, the qualifications that you get from apprenticeships are very, very good and vital for your career. On to the next one then. Apprentices will never earn very much. Oops. Got one true, couple true, a few true actually. Few falses. Okay, cool. So this is actually not true. If you look at the statistics, then you can see that individuals on advanced apprenticeships actually earn between 77,000 and 117,000 more over their lifetime than similar individuals with level 2 qualifications. And also degree level apprenticeships, those who take on degree level apprenticeships could see increased earnings of an estimated £150,000 over their lifetime in comparison to their university graduate counterparts. So no, apprentices do not earn very little, rather they earn a lot, and oftentimes they earn more than university graduates over the lifetime. On to the next one. Apprenticeships are only for school leavers. And by school leavers, we essentially mean those finishing year 11 and those finishing year 13. Excellent. Correct. I think a lot of you's got, in fact, all of you's got this correct. Apprenticeships are not only for school leavers. Apprenticeships are actually open to people from all ages, making it a great option actually if you want to change career as well. For example, in my university with Zain, we actually have a person who actually has 2 degrees, and she was a teacher prior to joining this apprenticeship, but she decided to make the change and join this apprenticeship. So no, apprenticeships aren't restricted, to school leavers. On to the next one. Employers value apprenticeships. Now, this is an interesting one because I've heard quite a few people say that employers actually look down upon apprenticeships. So let's see what you guys think of that statement. We've had a few falses. A lot of you saying it's true. Excellent. And the answer is it's true. Employers actually do value apprentices. You can see with the statistics that former apprentices are 15% more likely than those with other qualifications, for example, university graduates, to actually get a job. So if you have an apprenticeship scheme on your CV, then it's 15% more likely for an employer to employ you, which is a very, very good opportunity. I believe we're on to the last one. An apprenticeship won't lead to a full-time job. Is this true or is this false? We've had an overwhelming responses of false, a couple truths. So this essentially is not true. More than 90% of apprentices actually stay in employment after they finish their apprenticeships. 67% of those apprentices remain with their same employer. So typically the rule of thumb in BT is that if you do well and you pass your degree, then they will give you a job without any hesitation. In fact, they will encourage that and they would want you to stay on. So there's no need to compete in graduate roles after university and apply for hundreds and hundreds of applications and get rejected by all hundreds. So it really cuts that stress out and you are essentially guaranteed a job if you do well, which I'm sure many apprentices do anyways when they are given this opportunity. And so I think that's the end of this activity. Quite a few of you actually got all of these questions right, rather. So it's very nice to see that these myths are being broken down, which is an excellent thing to see. Now, moving on, and perhaps maybe our final question of the day. Why did we choose an apprenticeship over university? You know, what made us make that choice? So I'm going to give this question to Muhammad to answer and to really see why he chose an apprenticeship over university. So go ahead, Muhammad.
Right. So, Jazakallah. So the reason that I chose an apprenticeship over university was, I think one of the things that popped up on Menti before was the riba part. Now, obviously, as we know, with degrees comes a certain amount of interest that's added on for the rest of your life. But not just that. It's just that with apprenticeships, you gain the experience firsthand, the on-the-job experience, which is so important, which graduates, I believe, miss out on. Because if you're solely studying, which there's nothing wrong with, by the way, I'm not trying to take away anything from degrees, but as an apprentice, you get to learn whilst you earn, and you get to network along with it too. It's a massive thing because you've pretty much, whilst you're learning, you've pretty much set the structure for your career. You can then go off the back of that, and the sky's the limit as to how far you want to take your career. But whilst you're learning, you've got a steady income coming in at the same time, and you haven't got a huge debt lingering over your head. And to factor in also, you can do an apprenticeship that has a degree entailed in it as well at the same time, like Umair's doing, like Zain's doing, like I'm doing myself as well. Now, initially, I started off on a level 3 apprenticeship. I've only come 4 years later to doing a degree apprenticeship. So it doesn't mean that your initial, whatever comes to you initially is your final step. It's never the case. It's just how depending on how far you want to take it. So just coming back to the question, why I believe an apprenticeship is more preferable to myself personally over university is because of the experience, which is the main thing. You get that first-hand experience on the job, and that's invaluable. It puts you ahead of someone that hasn't got the experience and has got the qualification, and that can set you up pretty well for the years ahead. So yeah, that's my answer on that. Over to you, Amir.
Definitely, excellent answer. And Zain, I wonder what are the reasons essentially why you also chose an apprenticeship over university?
Yeah, so the reason why I chose an apprenticeship over university was because I sat down one day and I really evaluated both the pros and cons of both university and apprenticeships. And essentially, to put into perspective, there were a lot more cons on the university part, unless it was a degree apprenticeship, as opposed to apprenticeships. So some of the main things that really put me off was like the social life at university. So the kind of fitnas that a lot of Muslims may face, for example, with a lot of their university friends and people in their course going on like parties and drinking alcohol and all of this stuff. It was something that I've never really been fond of, and I never really will be, to be honest. And so from an Islamic perspective, I really didn't think that it would be a suitable environment for myself. And I knew that if it was a route that I would go in, that it could potentially lead to some dark places, which I didn't want to risk at all. And as I said in my introduction as well, that I was a person that was always fixated on apprenticeships, always. Look, it's a bit crazy because I even said to my friend, like, if I even got if I got an offer from my dream uni, whether it be Oxford, whether it be Cambridge, I still wouldn't take it because I did not want to go uni at all unless it was a degree apprenticeship. Not even just because of the social aspect, but just because of university in general. Because after A levels, I was like to myself, I'm done with education, man. I couldn't take it anymore. So that's why I said it wouldn't matter, regardless of what university was offered to me. I wouldn't do it unless it's a degree apprenticeship because I wanted to get those benefits of actually getting a head start, getting paid whilst I learn, and getting that experience to actually set myself ahead of other individuals who may apply for the same job as me in the future. And obviously, I don't have to go through that competitive stage because, alhamdulillah, most likely the job after I roll off my apprenticeship is pretty much guaranteed. So my future is pretty much set in stone, alhamdulillah, if all things fall into place, inshallah. So that was the main drive for me to consider an apprenticeship over university.
Excellent. Jazakallah khair. Very, very insightful answers from the both of you. Now, we've mentioned a lot of information in today's session, and unfortunately, time doesn't allow for us to go on further as we could. So we've supplied a few links that will be very useful for you to read up on further on apprenticeships and really answer any questions that you may not have. And we have quite a few very beneficial websites which I personally used for my journey as well. And on one of these websites as well, I think it was Not Going to Uni, I actually found the BT apprenticeship. So these websites are very, very beneficial if you're looking to apply for apprenticeships, which I hope all of you will be after this call, inshallah. And following on from that, I think we are now in our Q&A session. So if you are brave enough to speak up on the mic, you can do so and ask a question. But if not, which is totally fine, you can post your question in the chat box and we will pick that question up and answer it for you. If that question is specific to one of us three, then do mention who you want it posed to, or if it's a general one, then I will assign either of us to answer that question, inshallah. So do we have a brave volunteer that wants to speak up and ask the first question of tonight's session?
Hi there. Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sure. Go ahead. State your name, please.
Yeah, my name is Aisha, and my question is, what is the earliest you can apply for an apprenticeship? At what age?
Excellent question. Zain, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, so if you essentially look at the levels which we talked about earlier, there's 4 different levels. There's the intermediate, there's the advanced, higher, and degree. So the intermediate and advanced level apprenticeships, they actually open up the avenue for you to apply to an apprenticeship really early. And that's literally after you finish your GCSEs. So you wouldn't even need to go to college or sixth form. You could essentially just jump straight into an apprenticeship from that very young age. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what age that could be, maybe 13,
16.
14, 16, sorry.
16,
so yeah, so pretty much when you're 16 years old, you can jump straight into an apprenticeship, if that answers your question. But if you're looking more towards a higher level apprenticeship, such as a higher or degree or a master's, then you would have to complete your A levels, which means you'd have to be 18 years old.
A levels or equivalent, that is, whether that's level 3 BTEC or international baccalaureate as well. So anything equivalent to a level 3 can get you into a degree apprenticeship. Excellent. We have a couple questions in the chat box which I will assign. Mohammed, I think you're the best fit to answer this question from Safa. Is there a chance that after the apprenticeship you won't get a job?
Very unlikely, because you've got the experience. So for example, if you go into a department, let's just say media, they've trained you up for 1.5 years. For them to let you go is very, very unlikely, because they've put in as much effort, they've spent time, they've spent money and resources to train you to get you to a certain point. It just does not make any logical sense to let you go at that point. Throughout all the apprentices that I've managed or I've worked with, everyone's had a job at the end of it. So it's highly unlikely that they release you at the back end of your apprenticeship.
Definitely. Excellent answer, Mohammed. Mohammed Nabil asks, are there degree apprenticeships in London? Myself and Zain and Mohammed actually are doing degree apprenticeships. With me and Zain doing degree apprenticeships in London, so we're based in London. So yes, there are a lot of degree apprenticeships in London. I'm not sure if they have opened yet on the BT Careers website. So do stay tuned in that and have a look every now and then. I am sure that they will open eventually, inshallah. Abu Bakr asks, if a person has to travel away from home to work, what are the holidays like so they can go home once in a while? Zain, could you answer that?
Yes, so if a person has to travel away from home to work, essentially BT would try to help accommodate as much as they can to make the experience for the employee as easy and smooth as possible. So, like I mentioned earlier, with regards to going to university and stuff, they actually paid for my hotel, and I could be at the hotel for a whole week, depending on how long I am at university. And the hotel is, like Omer said, it's based in London, so it costs £100 just for one night. So these type of businesses, they do try to help accommodate as much as they can, and they will definitely help make it as smooth and easier for transition as possible. With regards to the holidays and how it's like to go back home, I think that may pretty much depend on the amount of annual leave you are given per year, and it's something that would need to be discussed with your managers at the time. However, they would be very, very supportive of the transition and help you as much as possible.
Definitely. And I think just to add to that, BT gives apprentices 22 days of annual leave per year. So it's important to note that as well.
It's excluding the bank holidays and like stuff that you have throughout the year anyway. So it's pretty generous, I'd say. So in total, with the bank holidays and stuff, you get around a month off of work a year, which is pretty good.
Excellent. Yeah, which is very excellent. Definitely. Cool. Ms. Four asks, what university is best for a degree apprenticeship? Now, Zain, would you like to tackle that question?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So I think it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what university you're at, because prior to yourself actually going to university, there would have been previous years in the same business as you that would have gone already. So for example, myself and Omer were second year degree apprentices, and we have third years and fourth years, so people that are in the years above. And so there's already been experience, rules and guidelines set in place. So I think they would follow those strict protocols across all future years. And so I don't really think it would matter as to what university you'd go to. But obviously, if it's tailored towards your apprenticeship, it would be great. So for example, myself and Omer were in technology, and our university is actually a technology specialized university. And there's actually a lot of technology equipment at the university we could use as well. So I guess it could help in that sense, but ultimately, I don't think it would really matter what university you are with.
Definitely, definitely. Mohammed, Siraj asks, what would my company that I'm working for pay for my equipment, i.e. laptop, company phone, and also what age would you get a company car?
Right. I haven't got a company car yet, and I'm 27. But so the question was around the laptop and the phone. So as a manager, I get a company phone, but I know if you're just an apprentice, or if you've just started an apprenticeship, you won't get given a phone, but you will get given a laptop. That's all provided for. Zain, Umair, is it the same for you? You get given a laptop?
Yeah, that's correct. So especially since we're working from home, you actually get provided with a laptop, headphones, a monitor, and perhaps even sometimes a chair as well. And so they're very, very generous when it comes to equipment to help you do your job properly.
Definitely. I mean, just on the chair front, I mean, I had an accident earlier on in 2013, so I've got metal plating in my arm. So BT set up a they do this DSE thing where they assess you to see what you need. I think the chair that I'm sitting on is worth like £700 to £800, which BT paid for. So then they're very generous when it comes to spending on their employees, but obviously that's within limits. The further you go on in your career, the more benefits you'll have, of course. Like with me, I get a phone and I get a contract that's paid for, as well as the laptop and the headphones and the usual stuff. But as a company, generally, BT are very supportive. In regards to the car, I haven't got there just yet, but I'm not sure when I'll go. I think that's just for very senior managers. It doesn't come free. You'll always have to pay something. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Perfect. Yeah. So Furqan asks, if you do an engineering apprenticeship, how much is work/exam/coursework, and how much is hands-on work? I can answer that for you because I actually have a friend in BT who's doing a power engineering apprenticeship, and I'm aware of how much work he does. In terms of hands-on, it is very hands-on. You're actually going to a BT exchange, and that's where you predominantly work. And in terms of the coursework and exams, then he typically goes to a college in Stoke-on-Trent, all expense. And he typically go there every month to do his coursework. And it is predominantly coursework rather than exam. So it's much more practical and much more hands-on. And you also get provided a BT van if you are working on the engineering apprenticeships, which sounds very fun. Unfortunately, me, Zain, and Mohammed haven't been provided with BT vans because we're obviously working from our laptops. But yeah, that's pretty much quite an interesting thing as well. I hope that answers your question, Furqan. Next, we have Safa, who asks, isn't it harder to do an apprenticeship not doing any of the subjects linked to it in college/sixth form? I'll give that to Zain to answer.
Yeah, and that is a very good question, Safa, as well. And I think that's what actually links to the beauty of apprenticeships, because with apprenticeships, they do not expect anything from you. So people in BT, for example, they will train you from the absolute bottom as if you don't know a single thing. So it does not matter at all if you don't have any experience or any skills or any knowledge in the field that you're in right now. So they'll train you from the very bottom. The expectations are quite low, especially when you're a new apprentice to the business. So there's not that much pressure on you. So I wouldn't really say that any of that would matter if you don't study a subject in college or sixth form, which doesn't correlate to what you go and end up studying in. But it would be ideal and obviously would help you a bit more if you did have the experience, but it's not a necessity at all.
Definitely. Excellent answer. Siraj asks, would there be set grade requirements for my degree like software engineering? Obviously, because I'm doing software engineering, I can tell you for the degree apprenticeship that I'm on, I think the requirements was BBC at A level or equivalent, which in hindsight isn't too bad, pretty easy to achieve for most people. You also ask, would you be able to pick what uni you study at? So the way BT works is you don't really pick your university. It depends on the region that you work in. So for example, if you get the apprenticeship in, let's say, Ipswich, then the Ipswich centre and surrounding areas, essentially, all those apprentices that are doing it in Ipswich will be given a course in the University of Suffolk. Whereas if you live in London and the surrounding areas and you're working in London, then essentially you'll be given a university in London. If you work, for example, up north in Manchester or Birmingham, then you will be given a university that is local to that area. So it's all regional based. Wherever you're working with, you'll be provided with a university in that locality. Siraj again asks, how many days would I work and how many days would I go to uni to study? Zain, can you answer that?
Yeah, so your working days would literally be throughout the week. So from a Monday to Friday basis, and essentially from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. However, it could be more flexible for some people. You could do 10 to 4, etc., depending on circumstances at the time. So your workload would be 9 to 5 from Monday to Friday. However, onto the second point of your question, how many days would I go to uni to study? For university, it's not a set timetable. So it's not like you go university every Thursday and Friday every week. So our timetable, as Amer knows as well, some months we could be at university for 2 days. So for example, you could be at university in January for 2 days. At March, we could be there for 5 days out of the whole month, by the way. in March, you may not even have university at all. So it's pretty much just a couple of days within a month. And some months you may not necessarily even be at university. And every Friday for myself, actually, and every Monday for Umair is a study day. So I essentially work Monday to Friday in BT, and Friday is my study day. So I don't work operationally on Friday. And when I'm required to go to university, it's just pure university work, no operational work at all.
Definitely.
I think if I could just oh no, go on, Amir.
No, go ahead, Mohammed. I think you're going to make the same point that I was going to make.
Yeah, just Jazakallah. So just on that, I think it differs per regards to depending on what apprenticeship you're going for. So when I was doing a level 3 apprenticeship, we used to get 2 study days a month. On the degree apprenticeship right now, I'm getting 4 study days a month. But it differs per apprenticeship. Umair, over to you, just in case that didn't match what you were about to say.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that word for word. Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. Jarir asks, would you say uni or degree apprenticeships are harder to get into? I believe you mean, would you say uni or degree? Right. Okay. So is it easier to go into uni or is it easier to go into degree apprenticeships? That's a tricky question. I'm going to hand that over to Mohammed.
Thanks. It's not easy getting into a degree apprenticeship. If we face facts, it's not easy getting in, right? The application process is going to be tough because what you're going for is it's quite a win because pretty much the company is paying for your apprenticeship. So as soon as you get past the application process, which by the way, shout out to part 2, which is coming up, which I'm sure Umair will mention at the end of this. If you get past the application process and you get to a face-to-face day where you're going through the assessment center, it kind of ties in with part 3 as well. But if you get to the assessment center, it will be challenging. I'm not gonna lie on that front. It would definitely be challenging because you'd have candidates who are of the same caliber as you, and you've got to be pretty damn good to get through to that stage. And once you've got through to that stage, that should give you the confidence that you are that good, and then you should be able to put that across in an interview. So coming back to your question, is it harder to get into a degree apprenticeship? It in my opinion, it may be it's a level playing field because getting into a degree in uni is going to be difficult as well, because they expect a certain amount of qualifications. It may be a bit more difficult, just a tiny bit, in terms of getting into a degree apprenticeship, just because of the level of competition, because of just how good the opportunity is. That's the only thing. But if you've got through to the assessment center and you've got through to a face-to-face, you're as good as the candidate next to you. So there should be no reason why you don't get that job. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Umair Zain, if you want to add anything to that, feel free.
No, that's a perfect
Absolutely spot on.
Okay. So yeah, I think Ms. Muhammad did kind of touch upon how hard it is to get into a degree apprenticeships course. So hopefully that does answer your question. Again, Abu Bakr, how competitive / hard is it to get an apprenticeship position at BT? That was answered by Muhammad. Furqan asks, what is the recruitment process like for an advanced apprentice? I'd give that to Zain.
And my answer for that would be tune in to part 2 of our series next month, where we actually go through the application process for apprenticeships. So this first one was for the introduction. The second will be for the application process. So if you'd like to know more, tune into the second part of our series next month, inshallah.
Excellent answer, Zain. And
nice.
Very nicely onto our next slide. What's up next for us? No, we're not going to go away. We have part 2 and we have part 3. Part 2, we'll be talking about the application process. And part 3, we will also be touching upon the assessment center itself, which is the final stage of the recruitment process, and really giving you key tips and tricks on how to tackle the assessment center and really stand out as a candidate from all the other candidates. So do please tune in, share this with your friends and family, share this with those who are interested in applying to apprenticeships, or those who are applying to uni but are thinking about apprenticeships. Do share this across everywhere you can, and do tune in as well on the 10th of December and the 7th of January at the same time at 6:30 p.m. inshallah. And without further ado, I think we've reached the end of this presentation. We have overrun slightly by 15 minutes, but you guys have had fantastic questions for us to answer. I really hope that this presentation has benefited you, has given you a detailed insight into apprenticeships and also in particular apprenticeships at BT. So I really thank you for coming and attending and taking your time out to attend this session. I also want to thank our speakers, Zain and Mohammed, for kindly giving up their time and really presenting their parts in today as well. So Jazakallah khair to both of you, and Jazakallah khair to all of our attendees. Please, I hopefully would love to see you in our next parts as well, inshallah. So take care of yourself, and we will catch you soon inshallah. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Walaikum salam. Brother, I have one question, sorry, before we go.
Yes, go ahead.
You know this application process, because some of the apprenticeships are open. The reason I ask is because before it closes, like, do we have time up until 10th of December before it closes, or will it close earlier? Do you know about this or not? That's why.
It really depends on the scheme. Typically speaking, a lot of apprenticeship roles open in December, and usually quite a lot of schemes close at the end of December and the end of January. So theoretically speaking, you should have plenty of time for that. But some apprenticeships and some roles may close earlier than that, depending on the company.
Because there's one, electronics technician. That's the one I want to apply to. So because it opened yesterday, so that's why I'm saying, shall I apply for it now or leave it till watch the video or something?
If I could just add to that, I mean, if you've got because the application process that we're going to discuss on December 10th, correct me if I'm wrong, Ume, it's going to be on a generic level rather than tailored to a specific apprenticeship. So what I would say is, if you found the apprenticeship that you're going for, Bismillah, apply for it. Don't wait to apply for it, just in case it closes before then, and I don't want that to happen, and I'm sure neither of us do. So there's no harm in applying for it and then joining the application process call, because then generically you'll have a bit more of a boost in terms of knowledge on that front, inshallah.
Definitely.
Okay, inshallah. All right. Yeah, that was it. That's the only question. All right, then. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
If anyone else doesn't have any questions, I'll give you a couple seconds to speak up or say something in the chat box. Nope, seems like no one else has any more questions. So we'll round it off there, inshallah, and I hope to catch all of you guys in our next part on the 10th of December at 6:30 p.m. inshallah. Take care of yourself and all the best with your applications. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam.